protectors. So, you know, not to dismiss it, but it's what we take out of the Earth's crust, what we make, all those chemicals that are, some are benign, but they're all treated as benign until proven innocent. We need to treat them as the other way around, toxic until proven innocent. I screwed that up, but you know what I mean. We got it. And
Precautionary tale.
Precautionary principle.
And I'll take one more question, and then it'll be somebody else's turn.
Manager, why has conservation, the whole top, element of conservation and reduction, why has that become such almost a dirty word that we almost never hear about anymore?
Conservation?
Yeah, I mean reduction in our need for
in our consumption.
Yeah.
We do hear increasingly more about it in the area of energy. Energy efficiency. I am so sorry. Energy efficiency is really a critical component of the energy future, and you're going to hear more about it. We are hearing a lot about it, and we're actually making very good progress. But in terms of consumer consumption of goods and products, I don't know. It's kind of up to all of us to keep that in the consciousness. I have a washing machine that I probably had, an old GE washing machine. Commend them when they do good things and sue them when they don't. And it's sturdy and it was well built. And I keep having the repairman come and he said, "Manna, you could have bought a new washing machine." I don't want to send this thing off to the crusher while it can still be repaired. And God bless John Wackman and the folks who are doing the repair cafes. It's really up to all of us. So, thank you. And I'm going to cheat and just take one more question from Getty because he deserves it.
Simple question. What does the result of the recent election tell us about our effectiveness in terms of effective communication?
Yes.
How are we doing?
All right. This is an important question. The people in Washington are going crazy. Our, NRDC, this one is not me, the NRDC and other major environmental groups that are based in DC are having a really hard time doing their work because every single day there's another bad announcement. Here, people are staying focused, and that's what I'm recommending. There's one other thing I'm going to recommend. There is a colleague of mine in the Ulster County Legislature who will remain unnamed. He is a strong Trump supporter. I was a strong Bernie supporter. The 3 years in the legislature have taught me that we are all human beings. I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to pinpoint who this is. But he and I are having a conversation on Facebook. And I have said to him, if you and I can stay cordial and remember that we have much more in common than we do that divides us, and it was Bill Clinton who said that we have 95% in common, and we focus on that 5% that is different, that is our difference. It's a severe difference. It's a difference of a magnitude that I haven't seen in my 71 years on the planet. I don't remember the first 4 or 5, but it's a very serious dilemma. But when I get in a point of dilemma, I think about the people whose shoulders we stand on now. I think about Martin Luther King. I think about Pete Seeger, and I think, what would they recommend in this crisis that we're in? And they would recommend love. And I don't care how you slice it, it's the only thing that's going to get us through this crisis. So thank you for your question. I'll be glad to talk to people more about that. But effective communication, and so I'm being proactive. There are a few people I'm scared to raise the issue with. But because this guy is so, all right, so it's a male. He's so far opposite me politically. And he was so upfront about it on Facebook. It just felt to me, and he and I have something in common regarding our families and difficulties that he's struggling with that I've struggled with. So I know, as a fellow human being, he and I have way more in common about what's important. And so, we're tossing this around. Where it is really difficult is in DC when you're in the middle of it. My son works in DC. I'm on the phone with people in DC because we are involved in lawsuits, because we're working on making sure that the Indian Point Settlement Agreement is going to be protective and that we have really safe decommissioning. So I will stop now because I know Leslie is anxious about time, and I really appreciate your attention and the opportunity to speak with you today.
Feverishly in the background, we were trying to get Rachel Marco Havens, who's down at Sister Giant, to be Skyped in, and I'm not sure if we're actually able to get the sound. She could hear us.
Where is she?
She's down in Washington, D.C. So we want to minimize. We're going to try one more time, and if not, go to the next speaker. She's going to give like a little...
We can hear her.
Hi.
If there's ever a fire, no
All right.
figure it out. Because that bothers me.
Wait.
What are we hearing?
Karin.
Go
It's just another issue that you gotta look at.
Yeah.
Yep. And they're gonna
See if we
talk
can
about
figure out. Go
I'm
to...
surprised it didn't come up.
So that was that sound
Yeah,
of
right there.
speaking over there. This is the guy who's ringing.
Yeah, go ahead. One more question.
All right, one more question. Anybody have?
Karin,
Yes, please.
what part could food waste management play? What part could food waste management play in the environment?
Well, that brings up, I think, the same question about waste. The first level of food waste management is preventing the waste and making sure that edible food that can safely be consumed by people gets to people that need food. And we can also, there are animals, pigs, hog farms, etc. Ulster County is making some progress with composting. There's a long way to go. Some of us remember back in the 90s when garbage was the primary issue. I think of the 90s as the decade of garbage, the 2000s as the decade of water. Water will always be a central issue. And the 2000 teens as the decade of energy. We either get that right or not. But composting is something that most people can do right in their backyard, and it should be managed properly so you're not causing anaerobic conditions and methane. But a good, healthy composting pile that's layered with carbon and nitrogen sources, so, those are the things I know. If somebody wants to add,
Yeah.
do you want to add to that?
There's a nonprofit called Solar Cities that actually a woman who lives in Rosendale, Kathy Puffer, is on the board of. It's a nonprofit organization that has been working in China. Haiti primarily right now is one of the places where they're doing a lot of work. And actually, Orville Looking Force finally has a biodigester. They came out to Standing Rock. So the solution for all carbon-based waste is, remember Back to the Future? When he was like, hold on, let me refuel, and he put banana peels in the DeLorean. That's actually real. That you take and there's a system of 2 IBC containers, stuff you could buy at Home Depot basically, that mimic the stomach of a cow. And you create a bioslurry in one chamber and methane gas that's completely safe so far, and that can be captured to use to cook, to power tractors, lawnmowers, barbecues in a safe way. And then there's a regulatory piece where compressing it could be used to theoretically replace your furnace. But that is a regulatory issue, because once you compress any gas, it becomes combustible. The way that it is in the home-based setups, it's not combustible, it's safer than propane, and I wish we had it at Standing Rock, because we use propane at Standing Rock, and it's kind of stupid to use propane when we're fighting a giant, anyway, what?
So that's biogas, and I want to say that the Ulster County Legislature has formed a solid waste management improvement committee to look at all the possibilities of how we can be dealing with our waste. Because one of the things we're doing wrong is, and it came out of, I would say, political cowardice, is that when we wrote our solid waste plan 20 years ago, we should have cited a landfill in this county in a geologically appropriate and in every way appropriate place. Instead, we decided we'd export our waste, that it would be cheaper, and you know, gas was inexpensive, and we were used to exporting things we didn't want. We've been exporting our waste, and it's been costing us a fortune. Somebody crunched the numbers, and I think it's, you know, $8 million a year, and all the fossil fuel burning that represents. So we're now bringing together people on the legislature with the UCRA and the League of Women Voters and others to try to figure out what makes sense moving forward. And one of the things that we've been looking at, and I never thought I'd say this, but there are some very good systems. Once you take out the bulky items and the metals and all the recyclables, for the waste that's left, what comes out of your kitchen and bathroom, can go through a municipal solid waste composting process that produces a very good product. I just want to be sure that it, you know, that we're not adding to the greenhouse gases by composting, and I want to look at the literature on that. But it's not a product that you'd want to use on agricultural fields or on your gardens, but it can be used on the roadways whenever there's disturbed areas as a good way to seed, you know, the vegetation that you want to bring back. So there are people that are really working hard at trying to find a solution, but I do think that getting the food to the people that need it is really the first step.
Can you just please take one more question?
Yes, please, stand up.
In Pine Ridge, South Dakota, majority of the Lakota people are breaking out in on their arms and their face with I want to call them sores, or they look like zits, but they're not zits, and it looks really bad. And from drinking the water, is it related that you also have I don't know how to say it, easier or softer, so like diarrhea, if the water's contaminated, are those the symptoms that are in contaminated water? The breaking out of the face and the skin, and the diarrhea and
When I was a critical care nurse, I learned to know what I know and what I don't know, because people's lives were at stake if I wasn't sure. And I don't know the answer in terms of uranium exposure. What I do know is it's usually, diarrhea is usually caused by bacteria or viruses. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other causes.
It's always been,
Do we have a
It's-
breakthrough?
Yeah, we have a breakthrough in sound.
Okay.
Yay.
Does anybody else in the room have a better answer?
I know that,
Please, Iris.
oh, well, I mean, I don't know specifically what could be causing the situation in Pine Ridge, but I do know that skin outbreaks have been associated with chemical pollution of water. Absolutely, definitely. And so have intestinal disorders. I mean, the whole story of fracking is a story of skin and neurological and multi-symptom. But as far as I know, there's no fracking there, so I'm not suggesting that it's
You're
fracking.
right, South Dakota is
Pine Ridge.
known to be one of the largest uranium
Yeah.
areas in the nation.
Yeah.
That's why I was just asking.
So we obviously, that's a huge issue.
So we
Yes,
actually
that's
got
wonderful.
sound. So thank you. There'll be more Q&A at the end, and I got there was a little bit of swirl going on here. We were trying to deal with some technical issues, and I appreciate that you stood through all that and were with it. There were some things that we should have tested in the beginning, and we didn't do that, specifically around Skyping someone in. We thought it would work really simply, and it just didn't do. So we're actually going to go on to our next portion. And John, you want to say anything about your film? John Bowermaster is here.
Very briefly. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll let the films speak for themselves. But we've made this series of films called The Hudson River at Risk, which you can watch online, actually. Stopping will be actually good.
Okay.
Thanks. We were doing lots of these public displays because we like getting people in the same room so you can see who your neighbors are and hear experts like Manna, Joe, etc. But this whole series looks at risks to the Hudson River today. And the only reason that we're interested in these things, because as Manna, Joe said, 50 years ago the Hudson was a mess. But because we have some of the savviest, most smart environmentalists in the country working here in the Hudson Valley, a lot of these things have made progress. That said, there are all these really potentially very dangerous and harmful things going on in our backyard. Bomb trains. I think we're just going to show the pipeline piece today.
Pipeline, let's do
But
that.
if you go online, it's hudsonriverrest.com. I'll leave some cards here. You can watch all the videos. We looked at bomb trains, which are those black cylindrical cars you see carrying crude oil. The rebuilding of the Tappan Zee. Pipelines, which we're going to look at. PCBs, elaborating on what Manna said. And several others. So please have a look at that stuff. And I can bore you with other stories after, but I like the films to speak for themselves. Who's seen some of them? Anybody? Okay, good. This is one of my favorites.
We're on.